Hello everyone, xin chào cả nhà. Hôm nay xin mời cả nhà cùng đi vui chơi với nhóm của trường để học hỏi thêm về những xuất khẩu và nhập khẩu cho thành phố cũng như tỉnh bang BC của Canada này là gì. We're on a field trip to Canada largest port, which is located in the province of British Columbia and right in Vancouver. And we'll be learning about the import and export of products and goods through this port and how it functions. Đây, nhóm đã đến nơi trung tâm của thành phố Vancouver và là nơi để học hỏi thêm về xuất khẩu và nhập khẩu cho bến cảng này của Vancouver. Đây là một trong những cái cảng lớn nhất của đất nước Canada, nằm ngay trung tâm của thành phố Vancouver. This is downtown of Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada. Đây, một cái khía cạnh của trung tâm thành phố Vancouver của Canada, và rất có nhiều trường học chở những học sinh đến đây để mà học hỏi thêm về một cái khía cạnh khá quan trọng của xuất nhập khẩu của đất nước Canada ở nơi thành phố Vancouver của tỉnh bang BC. Đây là một trong những cái cảng lớn nhất và hành động luôn tấp nập và bận rộn của những chiếc tàu và những công việc xung quanh này để vận chuyển những hàng hóa đi khắp nơi để tiêu thụ trong tỉnh bang cũng như trong đất nước, và cũng xuất khẩu ra nhiều nước khác trên thế giới. Chút nữa mình sẽ học hỏi thêm để biết về cái vận hành của nơi này. Không chỉ là học sinh của các trường mà là còn du lịch khắp nơi trên thế giới cũng đổ về đây để mà đi học hỏi và tìm hiểu thêm về cái nơi này.
They were $20. And they're both working. You know that's 1 hour of working. Not
cũng khá dễ thương và đặc biệt. Trên đường đi, cái thềm á, nó có ghi khắc tên của những tiểu bang, thành phố hay là những nơi du lịch nổi tiếng của đất nước Canada. All the names that you see here are special places in Canada, cities, town, and provinces that are in Canada have been engraved on that walkway that you see here.
Heartland.
Rồi, mình chuẩn bị học hỏi thêm về nơi này nhé.
That's exactly correct. So the ships will dock to load and unload their cargo. Any other thoughts on what a port is? What happens at a port? That was a really good answer. Okay, seeing nothing, I'm going to go with that, and that is right. So the port is the place where ships dock to load and unload their cargo onto trucks or trains. And we're going to learn a little bit more about where they stop.
Vậy là mình đã biết nơi này là nơi những chiếc tàu hàng hóa chở đến để mà tải lên cũng như tải xuống những mặt hàng đi vô và đi ra trong tỉnh bang và như đất nước của thành phố này.
In and out of our harbor waters every single year. So let's take a look at this map here. So we've got right here Canada Place. That's where we're located right there. And this is Burrard Inlet in between Vancouver and North Vancouver. This is also known as the Inner Harbor. So all of this blue water here extending out to Port Moody up and Indian Arm partway, that's considered part of the port. When you go underneath the Lions Gate Bridge and you see English Bay there, if you've ever walked along the seawall at Stanley Park, well, that's also part of the Port of Vancouver. Here we've got what we call the arms of the Fraser River. Well, this is also part of the port. And then if you've ever been out to the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal right there, and you've looked over to the side, that's called the Roberts Bank area, also known as the Outer Harbor, that is part of the port as well. So there's lots of land and water that makes up the Port of Vancouver. It's not just in one location. So these ships, when they arrive at our port, they stop at something that's called a terminal. And that's the place where they load and unload their cargo onto trucks or trains. So it's the road and rail connection as well as the water connection. Our port has 29 marine terminals. And you can see here all of these icons on the shoreline. That's showing you where all of the terminals are. So lots in the inner harbor.
Có tổng cộng khoảng 29 bến cho tàu cập vô trong cái khu vực này và vùng lân cận.
From all over the world. And you can see here that our port is located right here. That's Vancouver. And we get ships that arrive from Japan, China, South Korea, and India. One of the reasons why we get so many ships that come from Asia, we have a 1 to 2 day sailing advantage for ships to arrive at our port. So ships can arrive 1 to 2 days faster at our port than any other major port along the west coast there. So that's something that we handle. We have road and rail connections and also lots of imports and exports that, again, we're going to start to go over throughout this field trip experience. So a great example of an import would be oranges. That's not something that we can grow a lot of here in Canada, so we import them, we bring them to us. And we're going to learn about so that you can see what these terminals look like by video. So let's take a look here. Okay. This is Richmond Auto Terminal. Again, there's the 2 terminals on the Fraser River there. Now, when these ships dock at the terminals, there's a ramp that lowers from the ship and it connects the ship to the land. Now, that's Anasis Auto Terminal there. That is the largest auto port in all of Canada, right there. And almost 100% of all Asian vehicles that arrive to Canada arrive right at that terminal. We're talking Kia, Nissan, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai. All of these vehicles you can see there, they're rolling off the ship, someone's driving them, or they roll onto the ship, and because these vehicles roll on and roll off, we call these ships ro-ros. It stands for roll on, roll off. So that's what we're gonna call them from now on. Now those ships, they can handle and they lift up big bundles of logs, so more than one. And again, the tugboats are pushing those to where they need to be stored. There's that big crane lifting a heavy load. Look how many logs are in that. That was on the Fraser River. Now this is in Burrard Inlet here. This is Lindterm over in North Van. When those logs are processed, they're turned into lumber or wood chips or wood pellets. That's also something that a breakbulk ship will carry. And you can see that, again, that big, huge load. The cranes are lifting it and putting it inside the ship. Okay, so that's a quick look. Two types of coal. The first type is called thermal coal, and that mainly comes from Alberta. That's used for heating and electricity. The second type is called metallurgical coal or steel-making coal. And you need that type of coal, metallurgical, to make steel. So for example, the steel in the automobiles that we saw. Okay, number 2, grain. We ship out a lot of grain from Canada, enough to feed over 160 million people all over the world in a year. We have high quality grain that comes from our prairie provinces, such as Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, our prairie provinces. Number 3, potash. Give me a wave if you know where Saskatchewan is. Yes, okay, good. That's where potash comes from. So a long time ago, Saskatchewan was covered with seawater, and over time the seawater dried up and left sea salt lying on the ground. Over time, the sea salt that was in the soil, it compressed, it compacted, and it turned into potash. Potash is industrial grade salt. So it's mainly used as fertilizer to make our lawns and gardens grow. It's also used, who's wearing glasses? It's also used to help shape the lens of your glasses. It cools it down so they can shape your glasses. That's one use, but mainly used for fertilizer. Okay, number 4, sulfur. Give me a wave. Who saw the sulfur pile this morning that was over in North Vancouver? That big, bright yellow pile of sulfur. There's also one in Port Moody as well. Well, sulfur has over 500 different uses. It's used in a lot of soaps and detergents that we use every day. It's in fireworks, matches. Sometimes when we go to the doctor to get medicine, it's in the medicine that we get from the doctor as well. All right, I'm going to take out and more. So this, you see that big hatch cover? Those big conveyor belts, they have the cargo item that move from the stockpile and get poured into the ships there. Let's see if I can get my volume going here. All right, so what you're seeing here, you're seeing a bunch of terminals that are in the inner harbor. We have coal terminals, grain terminals. They carry potash. They also carry something called copper concentrates. So there's lots of different bulk items that I didn't get to as well. Those are this yellow sulfur piles right there at Vancouver wharves. Now what's interesting is sulfur doesn't dissolve in water, so it doesn't just wash away when it rains. And sulfur's also been degassed that arrives there, so it doesn't smell like rotten eggs like you would normally think for sulfur. This is a grain terminal on the Fraser River. These ships are big. They're like running down a couple football fields end to end. This is out at Roberts Bank, and they have a coal terminal out there. You can see the big hatch covers and the holds inside. That's what they're pouring those bulk cargo items into.
Và đây là hoạt động giải lao. Những học sinh phải tìm ra những câu trả lời cho những gì mình mới học vừa đây về nơi này, những việc gì đã xảy ra ở nơi khu vực đây.
When the ship's not docked, they go straight up like a long neck giraffe, and they're called gantry cranes. So like a long neck giraffe, they start with a G. Now when the ship docks, the gantry crane lowers to the 90-degree angle. The gantry crane operator sits right up there and off the Empire State Building, and they can handle about 19,000 containers on one ship. Our ships that are arriving, well again, there's about 2,500 to 5,000 containers. They're about, again, the length of them running the end of 2 football fields end to end. That's about how long our container ships are. Now, we get these containers that arrive at our port, again, depending on the year, and we have had over 300 cruise ships that have docked at Canada Place this year. So we're really happy to see cruise ships back this year. For every ship that stops at Canada Place, it generates over $3 million into our local economy. So that's really good for tourism and local businesses. We've had over 1 million cruise ship passengers that have moved through the port between the months of April to October. And we get lots of different cruise lines that arrive here. So this one here, this is a Disney cruise line, that's a Princess. We get Holland America, Norwegian cruise lines, and a whole bunch of other ones that I'm not mentioning. And again, they're headed up to Alaska and back, most of them. Now, these ships are vacation ships, so there's lots of things to do on them. There are, let's see here, there are ice rinks on some of them, electric go-kart tracks, there's kids clubs, there's movie theaters, live performances. Show you where to stand in a single file line right here beside all of these rows. Again, we're going to be in 6 groups. We're going to get you to stand in a single file line. I'm going to put this container down right in front of the line, in front of the first person. You are going to have a loader. When I say go, you're going to take this loader and you're going to pick up one of the cargo items that are inside of it. Those are air bubbles that hiss and pop underneath the water. Now, this propeller in the hull outside of the ship, if that's not cleaned and maintained, well, it can start to catch things that are in the ocean water, start to drag those things through the ocean, and that also makes sound. Inside of the ship, the engine that I'm going to play right now, and what I'm going to do here is just turn up my volume. I'm going to ask us to put our listening ears on here, and let's see. This was recorded with a hydrophone live off of our coast. Let's have a listen here.
Đây là những con chim hải âu đang đậu trên mặt biển. Và trước mắt á, là nơi của những cái bến tàu, mà tàu của chở hàng hóa đang đậu khắp nơi ở đối diện của trung tâm này. Đây là chiếc tàu chở hàng hóa. Nó có thể dài đến bằng 2 cái sân bóng đá để mà chở hàng. Mỗi chiếc tàu này có thể chở được 19.000 thùng container để chứa hàng. Cái núi vàng vàng trước mặt á là lưu huỳnh sulfur của tỉnh bang BC, Canada. Thế là chuyến đi này cũng học hỏi khá nhiều về những gì xuất khẩu ra khỏi tỉnh bang này cũng như là nhập khẩu vô, và có khoảng 5 loại tàu đang vận hành nơi đây. Tàu du lịch, tàu vận chuyển hàng, tàu làm gỗ, tàu thêm hàng hóa nữa, và một loại tàu chuyên môn kéo hàng hóa lên và xuống, và cũng học hỏi được nhiều thứ của nơi này đã xuất khẩu đi cũng như nhập khẩu vô. Và sau khi được xuống khỏi những chiếc tàu, chiếc thuyền, thì họ sẽ dùng những chiếc xe vận tải cũng như những chiếc chuyến xe lửa để mà vận chuyển hàng hóa đi khắp nơi trong tỉnh bang cũng như trong thành phố này. Nơi này cũng là một nơi khá quan trọng cho nền kinh tế của tỉnh bang, cũng đem đến nhiều công ăn việc làm cho người dân, và cũng thêm được nhiều du lịch cho nơi này. Một chuyến đi rất là hay và ý nghĩa. Và video đến đây thì tạm kết thúc. Hẹn gặp lại cả nhà trong những video kế tiếp. Xin chào và tạm biệt. Thank you all for watching. See you again on my next video.